There we go. How's shearing going?
Yeah, it's not great, to be honest. Just just challenging season. So there's a bit of tender wool, which isn't great, and we've also got a lot more VM than normal. So but it's sort of same across the board, really. Other people that are shearing, it's just a bit of a challenge. So
I think so. That's one of those seasons, but yeah. Anyway, if you're happy, we'll just jump into the questions that I sent you through.
yes, no problems.
And that'll probably cover a lot of stuff. And if you have any questions of us, feel free to ask as well. And it's So, how long have you guys been shearing? Not shearing, been farming merino.
Yeah, we've been farming for around 80 years, merino. So,
okay, yep.
Yeah, my father, his whole life, and half of his father's life. So, 80 years plus. So.
And always in the Hamilton area, in the same farm.
Yes, No, always in this sort of area. So we started off on a farm about 28 kilometres south of here, of where we are now, and we've still got that property, but that's where we started. So
And how many sheep do you actually run?
So we're at 18,000 now.
Wow.
Sheep-wise, it varies. That'd probably be as low as we go. 2 years ago, we were at 25,000. So it just varies a little bit, given season and variability and just what we're doing. We've got a few more cattle at the moment, but that's we've got 18,000 sheep. So
okay. And were you guys impacted by the fires?
We were, no, we certainly were on Boxing Day. I'm heavily involved in the CFA here in my group. So I'm deputy group officer of our group, and the fire shed for our brigade is actually on our land. So sort of always on the truck. So but we had a lot of call outs to neighbouring properties in the lead up. And then, we were impacted on Boxing Day, so we ended up losing 300 acres and about 12 kilometres of fencing. So, pretty scary day. So.
No, it's just adds to the whole season at the moment, doesn't it? It's
it does. I think you underestimate it too until you go. I've never been through a real natural disaster like that, but it does. It just. The anticipation, like we knew that we were going to, there was probably a week where we knew that we were going to be, so it was just that lead up and then, preparing houses and farmland and then actually going through that. You don't realise the trauma that it has, that affects you. It takes a fair while to catch up on all of that. So, we were very lucky in the end that we didn't lose infrastructure or housing. So
exactly. Thank God for small mercies, I guess.
Yes.
So back to the questions. What's the best thing about sheep farming for you guys? What's the thing that really pops out as something you really love or enjoy about it?
I love sheep and wool. I just think it's something that you're bred into, and I've just always loved it. I was drenching some sheep today, just this morning, and I always catch myself looking at the wool and looking at the sheep, and it's just something that I've always been passionate about for me. And my wife's joined me in that journey. So it's hard to put your finger on it, but it's just something that you feel really passionate about. And farming's hard to describe that, I suppose. It just becomes part of you. It's who you are. It's hard to put it into words, but the sheep, the wool, the land, it's just so important to you, and it's who you are, really. So I know it doesn't really give you a definitive answer, but it's who we are and it's what we are, really. So
I grew up around dairy country down Warrnambool Way. So
Yes.
like the dairy farmers there, it's 7 days a week. It's just constant. You wouldn't do it if you didn't love it. Like
No.
as you say, it's not a job. It's not a 9 to 5 job that you just sort of go and clock on and clock off at the end of the day.
No.
So yeah, whatever it is, it's just clearly in the blood.
Yes. Yeah. No, I've just left. We've got some dairy farms that heading that way, so I've just come from there today. So that's why I was a
Okay,
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very interesting. Anyway, we won't digress into the dairy industry. We'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
a
It's
whole other topic.
another kettle of fish. That one, absolutely. Um, what's the worst thing about sheep farming?
Look, the big challenge, and look, we'll probably get into it a little bit, but the big challenge for us with sheep, and it doesn't like there's been so many people get out of merinos, and
Yeah,
there's another big surge now, but the big challenge and the disappointment for me, I suppose, is a lot of people are talking about the price of sheep, but for me, and we've got varying businesses in agriculture, the big challenge for me is the cost. It's just the cost of sheep. And the biggest we benchmark a lot, but our biggest profit drivers are stocking rate and labour efficiency, and it's impossible to keep our labour efficiency under wraps with the sheep.
yeah,
We've headed down the non-mulesed and RWS, and I've really tried passionately to head down that path,
yeah,
and I've contributed to my own demise a little bit with rising costs and just more pressure on the whole system. So
yeah,
with heading down that system, I've got no doubt that it's the right way to go, but it puts more pressure on my staff. It puts more pressure on shearing, crutching, chemicals.
yeah,
So I suppose, yeah, the worst thing really for me at the moment is we're passionate about a product. We want to do the right thing. We want to head down the more greener path and be responsible, but we're not being rewarded, and
yeah,
we're not being paid for heading down that path. And us, like so many other businesses, won't have a choice in the future. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's the big disappointment for me.
yeah, yeah. I look and sort of probably leads into question number 5, like about that whole RWS aspect. And so you are RWS certified.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
yeah. We're gold standard with all of that. So
so what does that actually mean for people in the other side of the thing, getting our yarn and playing with it and knitting something? We're telling people that we're actually sourcing RWS fiber. What does that mean
yes,
from you guys? What does that entail?
just I mean, we're heavily sort of checked. We have a lot of people coming to look at our farm and our standards, and we have to go through a lot of certification, a lot of days to meet the standard. So
Yeah,
everything on our farm has to be up to standard. Our water points, our yards, everything's checked.
yeah,
That's no problem because that's a tick of the box. Like we're already doing that stuff. It's not
yeah,
that's not a problem. The big issue for us, and it was something I wanted to do, but the biggest impact is probably heading down the non-mules path. So that's had the biggest impact, and we're six years into that.
hmm,
Um, so that, although I think it's the right decision, it's had a lot of impacts, chemical wise, crutching
yeah,
wise, on my staff because the flies are a lot harder to control, and
yeah,
yeah, so that's probably been the biggest influence. So whilst I think we're meeting all of the standards, and I'm really happy about that, um, it's okay to be the owner and have complete faith in your decisions, but you have to understand the repercussions that has on my staff, on the shearing teams, on the extra cost that it
yeah,
costs to produce the product.
yeah.
And unfortunately, the remuneration's not there at the other end. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
find that a little bit as like when we go to Eamon, and Eamon is from Fox and Lily, for people watching this one day. Um, I was surprised that because we asked for obviously non-mules because we can't sell into Europe if it's not non-mulesed. And obviously once we heard about RWS, we thought that would be an absolute bonus to be able to say our wool is RWS produced. And then it just goes off into the auction system, and he comes back and says, "Oh, that's what it would be fetching at the auction if it went to auction. Are you happy with that price?" And we sort of thought, well, is there a loading for that, or is there a loading for non-mulesing? No, that's what would happen at the auction system. It's sort of, I was
Yes.
a bit surprised that there wasn't some sort of a add-on bonus.
Yes, yeah, and there has been a little bit in the past, but and I mean, you head down these paths, and I wanted, in my grand scheme, I just wanted to be selling to Europe and selling to people like you but unfortunately that doesn't always happen, and China buys a lot of the wool and they don't care. So
Yeah.
and they govern a lot of the price. So it would be really good in the future if we could get enough wool and get enough, better remuneration for people heading down this path. But
Yeah.
I suppose it's, if it doesn't happen, then it's we're a business like anyone else. So,
Oh, exactly.
that's the hard bit.
So what normally happens to your wool then? Normally it just goes off to the auction system down in Melbourne,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
as you say, the bulk of it probably gets snapped up by the Chinese after mixed in
Yes.
with
Yeah.
everything else. Is there any sort of traceability, or do you guys have any idea where it ends up?
We don't. No. And I've talked to Eamon a lot about trying to get some contacts in Europe, but obviously, it's not as easy as that. But some of people that I know in the industry have gone down that path. But you do have to have quite a bit of wool.
Yeah.
And you have to develop relationships, and that's not done overnight. So
Yeah. So at the moment, we know it here, it's as dry as all get out. There hasn't been any sort of spring rain, summer rain. How's the farm looking at the moment?
yeah, it's a challenge. It'd be I've been home for 23 years, and 06, 07 was dry, but this would be by far the longest challenging period that I've faced. And I think we're seeing what's happening now, but we're really seeing the fruits of last year when we had a very, very late autumn. No real winter rain to really flood the country and get a good soak, and then a failed spring, more or less. So we just didn't grow any feed. We never grew that bulk over the spring to carry us through the summer. So now every animal on our farm, whether it's dairy or beef or sheep, is getting its full ration from hand feeding. So it's a massive job. So cattle are all getting sort of upwards of 8 kilograms of hay a day. We've got around 1,000 beef cattle, so that adds up. All the sheep are on full hay and grain rations, so that's 3 kilograms of grain and 2 kilograms of hay a week. So it's an enormous amount of feed. It's 60 tonne of grain, about 58 tonne of hay just for our sheep and beef operation. So,
did you have any hay stored from previous years, or are you buying in everything now?
Yeah, no, we're buying in. Yeah, all of that's been evaporated. So we're just really pushing through. But you haven't got a choice. You have to keep your production up. You have to look after your animals, and you have to be ready to go when it does turn and when it does rain. So you just have to have a good robust business, and you have to have a good relationship with the bank and be just constantly talking about what's going on. So
Yeah. So the next question's not on the list, and it probably won't make the final cut. What do you need to get paid per kilo? So when we last got your wool, I think it was 18 and a half micron or something like that.
Yes.
I reckon we only paid $12 a kilo or something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
We really need to be around the 16 and 18, dollars. So it's a
Yeah,
considerable gap at the moment. Just
yeah,
like the big thing for us is just your shearing costs, your drench, like any business, but our costs have gone up a lot.
yeah,
So yeah, we really need to be up there, but we need to be, long term above $15 really. Like we
yeah,
just, we need to be at that mark. And it's not so much back to business again, but it's to be comparable with our other enterprises. Like, as much as I love wool, and I think you can understand I do, but I'm not going to go broke doing it. So,
yeah. Oh, exactly.
it's
Yeah,
it's just business. So that's really, and I've had these discussions with Amon. We have to do better. We've got to understand that it's fine to have all of this certification, the RWS, and but you have to be paid out the other end, or people will just stop. Like,
yeah, yeah. Oh, look, we constantly talk about that. We've just, my wife's gone over to Germany at the moment. We've just been reviewing our wholesale prices to try to be as competitive as we can, knowing also then that we have to, shipping from Australia over to Europe or wherever just is a killer in terms of
yes, yeah.
sending a box full of yarn anywhere at the moment. So yeah, and it does come back to business. Like you can't just live on nothing.
No, no,
And
no.
and I remember I was it, you probably know better than me, probably 7 or 8 years ago when they were singing the praises of the wool industry. It was getting good money.
Yes,
It looked like things had really turned the corner and that it was all gangbusters and everybody, well, I remember something on the country hour, how all the farmers were investing in new stockyards or building new shearing sheds or updating
yes,
plant and equipment that hadn't been done for a generation. And yeah, then you get a season like this, which is absolutely crazy. And the bum falls out of the prices. It's yeah, you do have to look at it with the business hat and sort of can understand that it makes it quite challenging.
yes, yeah. No, it's certainly challenging, and I just think, and like I said, there's a lot of people like farmers that I know that haven't gone down the RWS path and they haven't got the challenges that we've got.
Yeah,
So that's the big disappointment, I suppose, from us because we've
yeah,
been not not sold a lemon because I've chosen to do this and I think it's the best way, but it's in terms of profitability, it's a real challenge compared to people that continued to mules and just went along because it's in tighter times it's they're getting the same money as me, but they haven't got anywhere near the
yeah, the
cost
cost.
structure. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, as I said, well, hopefully you can find some wool that'll fit our criteria for this season.
No,
Uh,
I hope so. I hope so.
I hope so too.
Yeah, it
And
might be a challenge though.
we'll fingers crossed. We've recently, well, just last week actually, sent off a small order to a yarn store in Japan, which is all
Yes.
your wool. We sent off a small order to a yarn store in Singapore. So we're getting a little bit of interest in our product, which is lovely.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really good.
there's a big trades fair this weekend over in Cologne, which my wife's German, so that helps as well. She grew up
Yes, yeah.
near Cologne, so she's over there catching up with friends and family, but also to go and try to get into a few European stores. And she's actually printed out all the information about Fly Strike, about RWS that we could find to take with us to actually start having those conversations, because in the area where she's located is called the Green Zone, and the store next to her is actually a German lady who set up a yarn business selling German wool because it definitely is not non-mulesed. Because when she found out how horrible Australians treat their sheep and everything else, that she just went nuts and had to do this herself, and just sort of to be able to have those conversations over there and to present them with the facts and to say, look, here we have a farmer really trying to do the right thing, and for that to continue, they need to be supported. And that's what part of what we're doing is all about. I find it really interesting. We've approached AWI to see whether they would give us any information or any funding or anything to help promote the fact that we're celebrating non-mules, we're celebrating RWS, and fell on deaf ears.
And that's a disappointing thing. I think, we're just we haven't got the leadership at the top, and it's more serious than, like, I know we've got other things happening, like we've got the season and we've got that sort of thing happening, but I'm looking at it with a long-term overall view, and I feel that we're not going to be supported, and it's not going to be, something long-term that looks good, and that's sad for me, but that's how it feels. And I told Amon, I just said, we can't, it's the season is one thing, but we've got other things going on our farm that I've still got the season, but we just haven't got the challenges of this extra price and not being, supported. So it's, I just think it's a worry, and the big issue is the resistance to the fly chemical that, we're having, and we're having to use a lot more chemical and a lot more labour, and obviously staff don't like using chemical, and it's it's not good for anything. So it's not. That's probably my biggest worry, is that I don't think the chemicals companies are really doing enough work and going to catch up quick enough, because we're using a chemical at the moment that should be 21 weeks, and we're getting 4 to 6 weeks. So that's obviously a massive issue. So,
yeah. Well, as I said, we're going to try to sing your praises as best we can. Germany. And the idea of this catch up is hopefully to put it onto our YouTube channel and to talk to people when they come through our mill.
Yes.
We're only a very small player. We've only got the capacity to do a couple of tonne a year. But ultimately, if it can be a couple of tonne of your wool, or like ideally, that's the sort of thing that we want to be promoting. People, when they do the tours, always ask, where's the fibre come from? So to be able to put a face to it, it really is for us about that transparency. It really is about that. This is actually a family. There's a whole family behind this business. It's not just some conglomerate selling fibre off over to China and you don't know what you're getting. It really is about that traceability. It is about people who actually care about the world they live in. So that's a little bit about like our ethos, and that's what we try to really promote. So I appreciate your time on the call. I know you're very busy. So I won't take up any more of your time, but
no worries.
We'll certainly be letting people know in Germany where our wool comes from, and if you're happy, and anybody, there's a bucket load of yarn stores over there, yarn suppliers over there as well. So if you're happy, we can also, if anybody asks where wool comes from, we can give them your contact details if you want.
No, that'd be no worries at all.
Anyway, we'll do our bit, and hopefully you can find some wool that is good for us this year.
Yes.
We're down, got one bale left, so we've got a bucket load of yarn to be making for the season ahead. So
yes.
Fingers crossed, Fingers crossed.
All right.
Hopefully the market improves.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for your time, Luke.
Nice to meet you, Nick.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.